Hey everyone, we're starting this video with another part of this story that you all keep asking for in the comments. But of course, don't forget to leave your like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a member of our community to get access to exclusive videos every week. Alright, that's it. Now, let's get to the story. Imagine that you're in a world of fantasy and cultivation. You grow and develop rapidly, eventually becoming the elder of a sect. After some time, you gain disciples and a kind, gentle maid. But during one of your missions, you are attacked and end up in a fatal condition, just waiting for your own death. Our protagonist in his final moments realizes a sad truth. His disciples are turning their backs on him and showing their true colors in this critical moment. Some of them are already thinking of finding a new master and even insult him, calling him a crippled piece of trash. Another one says he's been waiting for this moment for a long time and will now accept the second elder as his new master, mainly because of the female disciples. The maid, upon hearing this, becomes furious. She yells at them, saying that if it weren't for Elder Xiao, none of the five would have gotten to where they are today. She points a finger at them and calls them nothing but a bunch of animals. The disciples get angry immediately. The third disciple slaps her and tells her to show some respect, saying that she's just a mere servant. Another disciple mocks her, calling her a pitiful fool, and says, "If you want to stay with him so badly, then stay. Either way, I've already taken everything I wanted from that useless master." After taking everything they could, they leave. The maid, the only one who stayed with Xiao until the end, cries in sorrow over the situation. She tells him not to worry because all the bloodsuckers are gone and she'll stay to take care of him. For me, she's already the best character by far, kind, loyal, and with a future that truly matters. My friend, Elder Xiao, in his final moments, asks her if she hates him, because after bringing her to the mountain, he never asked if she wanted to be his disciple or if she wanted help with cultivation. Our favorite character, who reminds me a lot of Yangun from Martial Peak, replied, "I know my roots and bones aren't good for cultivation. Ever since the elder saved me from a slave trader, I've been deeply grateful. I only hate the injustice of the heavens and treacherous villains, for good people never seem to die good deaths." The elder laments not having accepted her as his apprentice. Unfortunately, he's a man on the brink of death. The maid quickly kneels and pleads, "If the elder doesn't hate me, then please accept me as your disciple. In the future, I swear I will avenge you. I'll kill all those traitors, and I won't stand up until you accept me." He's caught off guard, smiles at her innocence, and says, "I may be sick, but I'm not stupid. If I accepted you, I'd only be speeding up your death." He then hands her a small vial. "This is the last essence condensation pill. It may not be much, but it's the only thing I can give you." Z takes the vial and asks him to lie down carefully, but suddenly he feels a monstrous pain in his chest, spits out blood, and accidentally throws the vial away. It shatters, symbolizing his final moment with the maid. Z, "My vision is getting blurry, so this is what death feels like." Z, "You're crying too loudly. My ears hurt. I'm really angry that I didn't accept you as my disciple." And that's it, it's over. Music starts playing. What's this? Launching the official disciple bonus system. Wait a second. Is this a golden infinite pill? Just one of these is equivalent to about 10,000 essence gathering pills. When consumed, it can make someone advance and also heal any injury. I've been in this world for 20 years and only now do I receive the protagonist cheat. Let's go for a little flashback. 20 years ago, I came to this world due to a car accident. Couldn't be more cliché. I thought I was the main character of a powerful and prestigious family. I even reached the foundation establishment stage before I turned 10, but after joining the Hongming sect, my cultivation stagnated, and I became the laughingstock of the sect. But now I have a second chance. What exactly is the disciple reward? The system explains that the host will receive rewards in return for everything he gives to his disciples as their master. This includes teaching them skills and knowledge. It also counts if the disciple advances or gains enlightenment. In such cases, the host will receive a certain amount of cultivation energy in return. To simplify, if Elder Xiao spends the equivalent of 100 days of cultivation training on the pink-haired girl, he'll receive 200 days of cultivation back. Pretty overpowered, right? and if the disciple comprehends a technique that he taught, he'll receive a reward in return, meaning he'll comprehend an even more advanced technique than the one he passed on. After years of humiliation, betrayal, and near death, this cheat is well deserved. However, the system warns that he cannot use system-given items as a loophole to exploit it, meaning he can't just give an item to his disciple, get a better one as a reward, and then repeat the process endlessly. However, if the master teaches abilities that were granted by the system, and the disciple gains new insights on his own, then it still counts, allowing the master to receive a second reward. Now that everything has finally been explained, our Tien takes the pill and finally reaches the long-awaited Golden Core realm. At that same moment inside the room, Z cries and begs the elder to wake up. She promises that she will no longer insist on becoming his disciple, that she won't seek revenge, and that she doesn't need that pill, she just wants him to stay alive and be with her. Seeing this, the elder says, "You fool! Remember, the first thing your master will teach you is this: if you have enemies, you must take revenge with ferocity, and your vengeance must be twice as severe." They head toward the 6th peak of the Hongmeng sect, but there they encounter Yu Feng, one of the traitors of the master. He kneels and pleads, "Elder Wang, please accept me as your disciple. Here are all the secret martial arts techniques of Elder Xiao from the 7th peak, given as a token of my sincerity." He hands over the secret techniques of his former master, and the old elder smirks, saying mockingly, "So Xiao really did raise an excellent disciple. The one who was once the star of the Hongmeng sect, who considered himself unmatched, has ended up like this today. If you truly wish to become my disciple, you may," the old man continues. "This is the ruler of repentance from the discipline hall. A tool capable of dissecting a person's spiritual roots. If you can extract Yiao's spiritual roots, I will immediately accept you as my personal disciple. But be careful to hold it properly. Once this ruler touches blood, it won't release easily without the proper method." The traitorous disciple replies, "Elder Wang, don't worry. Feng won't let you down." But just as he finishes speaking, a surge of power is launched toward him, sending him flying backward. His blood splatters onto the ruler of repentance, activating it. He's done for. The pain is unbearable, so much that he begins to cry and scream, shouting that he can't die here, that his path to immortality has only just begun. The elder looks around in shock and asks who's there. But when he realizes it, it's Xiao Shreen, standing majestically in the air above his head. Our Tien, no longer Xiao but Tien, says to the elder, "If you want my spiritual roots so badly, why don't you come take them yourself?" The old man looks at Tien, clearly unsettled, and says that he was merely joking with his disciple, that his words might have been a bit harsh. Elder Wang thinks to himself, didn't he just say that this worm was on the brink of death? Then why does he now have such a strong aura, as if he's surpassed the Golden Core realm? Tien looks at him and says coldly, "Ah, so that's how it is. However, I wasn't joking with you, elder." He then unleashes an attack, summoning countless flying swords. The old man stares in disbelief. That's the Kanglang sword art, he thinks. He remembers when he and Zhan joined the sect together. Back then he gained the favor of the sect master for creating the Kanglang sword art and received most of the cultivation resources. Fortunately, when he advanced to the Golden Core realm first, Zhan became completely useless. Immediately, the old man activates his defensive technique and shouts, "Don't be reckless. I've already reached the 2nd level of the Golden Core realm. If you fight me now, you'll have no advantage." But our protagonist, who only needs one hand to defeat him, replies, "Elder, so this is all the 2nd level of the Golden Core realm amounts to." After several exchanges, Tian's strike hits the elder's hand, making him scream, "Tian, if you dare to kill me, the sect won't let you go." Our protagonist smirks and says, "I'd like to see what the sect will do to me if I insist on killing you." He then unleashes a deadly strike. The old man panics. "Damn it, I have no choice but to use this." He quickly pulls out a shield artifact and activates it for defense. He thinks to himself, this high-grade mysterious class artifact can only be used 3 times, and this was my last charge. I was saving it for when I reached the nascent soul stage, to resist the heavenly tribulation. Toon mocks him, saying, Wow, Elder Wang, you really do have some tricks up your sleeve. You've been collecting treasures for years, haven't you? Let's see what good they'll do you now. He then activates an even stronger ability, manifesting a giant sword that descends to cleave the shield in half. The old man yells, "Are you really going to keep this up?" Tian replies coldly, "Why wouldn't I?" The shield shatters and the sword slams into Elder Wang, causing a massive explosion that leaves a huge crater in the ground. At the center of it lies the badly injured Elder Wang. Terrified by Tian's immense power, the old man pleads, "Don't come any closer." Our protagonist calmly says, "That shield was at least a top-tier, high-grade, mysterious class artifact. In this world, artifacts are divided into 5 ranks: mortal, mysterious, earth, celestial, and immortal. And within each rank there are 4 grades: low, medium, high, and supreme. A high-grade mysterious class artifact, even within a sect, would normally be considered a sect defending treasure. I never expected you to have such a treasure hidden away, but regardless, this ends here." And with that he prepares to strike once more. Just as Tian was about to finish off Elder Wang, a defensive barrier suddenly appeared. He looked up and saw the sect leader of the Zangri sect flying overhead, riding on what looked like a duck or maybe a goose. He wasn't sure. The sect leader spoke, "Please, stop this at once. Battles between sect members violate our laws and may lead to expulsion." Reluctantly, Xiao deactivated his ability, even though he clearly didn't want to. The old man immediately began begging for help, shouting that Xiao was slaughtering his poor disciples. In an instant the sect leader slapped him across the face and ordered him to be quiet. "Elder Wang, would you like to enter the heart pool of inquiry in the discipline hall, so that we may determine who should truly be expelled from the sect?" he asked sternly. The battered elder quickly replied that such a thing wasn't necessary. The sect leader then turned to Xiao and congratulated him. "Elder Xiao, congratulations on breaking through the golden core barrier after so many hardships." The protagonist thanked him and said, "If I hadn't advanced to the golden core realm, I would have become the target of a certain traitor, and my spiritual roots would have been ripped out." The old man quickly tried to cover himself, saying, "This is all just a misunderstanding. However, since this matter happened under my watch, I am willing to accept the sect's punishment and hope that Brother Shio won't hold it against me." The sect leader replied, In consideration of the sect's harmony, I'll spare your life for now. But things are different for your disciple. To betray one's master and repay kindness with hatred, his cultivation must be crippled, and he shall be expelled from the sect." We then see the traitorous disciple completely wrecked, with the ruler of repentance impaled in his abdomen as he desperately crawls across the ground trying to escape. The traitor begs the sect leader for mercy, but the leader says, "I'll leave this matter for Elder Xiao to handle." At that moment Z appears and says, "There's no need for the master to act." Feng, still arrogant despite his state, sneers, "You're just a useless servant, and you still dare to act against me." He launches an attack at her, but she instantly forms an illusory sword and blocks it with ease. Feng is stunned. Weren't you the useless one who couldn't even comprehend the Kangling sword art?" Elder Xiao steps forward and says coldly, "Useless, you say?" He recalls something from 3 days earlier. Now that the protagonist's system hack had fully activated, he could see people's information bars, their identity, comprehension, spiritual roots, and talent. When he looked at Z, he was astonished. Her talent was innate immortal sword body, a rare and extraordinary constitution. To activate this power, she would need to reach the foundation establishment stage, earn recognition from the Lin family ancestor, and awaken the sword embryo. Surprised, he thought to himself, "An incredibly rare innate immortal sword body." "Master," she asked, "what is this innate immortal sword body?" He smiled faintly and said, "I just thought you might have some affinity with the sword. I'll find Feng now. I can't let you stay defenseless." Then he demonstrated slicing a tree cleanly in half. "This is a sword art I created years ago," he explained. "If you can comprehend even a little of it, that'll be enough." She tried to imitate the technique, and to his astonishment she succeeded. She had quickly grasped the introductory stage of the Kanglang sword art. As a result, the system rewarded him with the heaven-splitting technique, a high-grade mysterious level martial art. back to the present moment, Xiao thought to himself. She's the real treasure here. Our pink-haired heroine, striking a fierce warrior pose, said confidently, even with the master's guidance, you still failed to comprehend the art. Tell me, who's the useless one now? She then struck decisively, finishing him off. The first traitor was dead, his spiritual roots had been completely shattered. Master, she said respectfully, please verify it. Very well, Cao replied. The sect leader then declared, Elder Xiao has already delivered the punishment. Allow me to take Elder Wang for disciplinary action. But Tian interrupted. When did I say this matter was over? The sect leader frowned. Didn't you say you would spare his life? Yes, I said I would spare his life, Tian replied calmly, but I never said I'd let him walk away so easily. My dissatisfaction depends on the elder's sincerity and what he can offer me. The old man, trying to appear righteous, stammered, Water, right. All of my fortune is in this Qiankun pouch. I hope it's enough for Elder Xiao. Tian smirked. Elder Wang, you truly are a wise and enlightened man. He took the treasure pouch from the old man and added, Farewell, old fool Wang. Then he left with Zia. Completely amazed, Zia said, Master, you were incredible just now. He replied, Let's rest for today. Tomorrow, I'll officially begin guiding your cultivation. The sect leader departed as well, telling Wang to take care of himself. The old man, furious and humiliated, swore he would never forget what happened that day. The next day, Xiao examined the treasures he had taken from the old man. His savings were quite substantial, he said to himself. Plenty of good elixirs for the Golden Core realm. The quality's average, but they'll do. This medium-grade primordial technique will be perfect for solidifying my foundation. In this, yes, this must be the most valuable item among all his junk. A mid-tier earth-grade sword, the 5 elements seal. Though I don't need it, perhaps I'll give it to Z. He smirked. When it comes to treasures, the system's rewards are far superior anyway. The rest are just spirit stones, he noted. A small pouch with over 100 high-grade spirit stones. That old man must have been hoarding them for a while. Now that I'm rich, maybe I should build a small village someday. Suddenly, C knocked on the door. Master, you asked me to come for training in 2 hours, she said softly. He smiled. Come in and sit down. At that moment, he explains that the cultivation realms for practitioners are as follows. Postnatal innate foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, separation, integration, Mahayana, and transcendence realms. Each realm is divided into 10 smaller sub-realms. The postnatal realm strengthens one's blood energy, tempering the muscles, bones, and skin, enhancing both physical strength and quality. The innate realm refines blood and ki to form internal energy, increasing martial power and physical defense. Reaching all the way to the transcendence realm allows one to ignite the spark of immortality, though that is a level only a few throughout history have ever achieved. All right, he says, let's begin with the primordial technique. Focus on understanding it with complete dedication. Start by circulating your qi through your body several times to gain a basic comprehension. While she trains, he glances at her status window and notices something concerning her spiritual root value is only 15. He asks the system, what's the normal amount for an average person? The system responds, between 50 and 60. He sighs, looks like I'll have to use my own ki to refine her essence and marrow. He begins transferring his ki into her. After some time, she has gathered enough energy and breaks through to postnatal realm stage 10. She stares in disbelief. Master, how did you transfer your qi directly like that? I've heard that giving qi directly comes at a heavy cost. It might not destroy your cultivation completely, but it can make you regress several realms or even injure your body. He smiles calmly. Don't worry, I'm fine. At that moment, our wise protagonist receives a system notification, 500 days of cultivation as a reward. He tells her, you can keep that energy. I had nothing good to give you before, so consider this a gift from your master for becoming my disciple. She's overjoyed and asks, all of this is for me. Then she bows deeply. Thank you, master, for saving my life and teaching me. If you ever need anything in the future, just tell me. I'll do anything. He replies, "Go and carefully comprehend what I've taught you today. Once you've fully absorbed it, I'll give you more of my key for your cultivation." She asks worriedly, "Will there really be a next time?" He reassures her, "Of course, if you don't believe me, just wait until I enter seclusion for 3 days. I guarantee I'll reach the 5th stage of the Golden Core realm by then." She nods firmly. "Then I'll guard you while you cultivate. I won't let anyone come near." He chuckles. All right, don't be so tense. Go practice." "Yes, master, then I won't disturb you anymore." During this time, because he had given away the treasures from the pouch earlier, he receives new rewards from the system. A 4th grade Ruan pill, the celestial rank supreme sword technique, art of the 1,000-mile blade, the gentle wandering sword, and earth rank supreme weapon. Now that he's alone, he decides to examine the system rewards more closely. "I've heard of this 4th grade Ruan pill before," he mutters. "It can only be refined by a cultivator at the nascent soul level. The required materials are some of the rarest in existence. Even if I turned the entire sect upside down, I wouldn't find 5 of them. But the reward that excites me the most," he grins, "is this high-tier sword technique, the 1,000-mile sword art. It's practically the pinnacle of swordsmanship. Combined with the gentle wandering sword of earth rank, it's unbeatable." He tests the technique by striking a massive boulder and it's completely obliterated. "Not bad," he says proudly. "The 1,000-mile sword art emphasizes the way the sword is manipulated. If I can gather more swords, especially powerful ones, challenging higher realms will be child's play. This time I should be able to reach at least the 5th stage of the Golden Core realm." Meanwhile, in the Hongmeng sect marketplace, we see 2 of the traders, one of them being that perverted disciple, eavesdropping on 2 young women talking. "Did you hear?" one of them says. "Elder Xiao from the 7th peak has advanced to the Golden Core realm. It's said he even had a conflict with the elder of the 6th peak, and completely humiliated him in battle." I also heard, the other adds, that Elder Xiao was willing to sacrifice his own spiritual roots to help his disciple cultivate. "Elder Xiao is amazing. I envy anyone who has such an incredible master." They both swoon, clearly smitten with the elder. One of the traders overhears them and mutters bitterly, "Ch! Yachal helped his disciple cultivate and passed on his techniques to her. Who are they talking about her?" One of the women turns to him and asks, "Young Master Feng and young Master Li, you 2 came from the 7th peak, didn't you? Why did you leave?" The trader answers smoothly, "Don't believe those rumors. That old dog mistreated his disciples. We left because we couldn't stand his cruelty any longer." The ugly one beside him blushes awkwardly, and one of the women asks, "Is that true?" Meanwhile, another traitorous disciple overhears everything and thinks to himself, "So Xiao has broken through to the Golden Core realm, defeated Elder Wang, and even taken in a new disciple. Is that really true? I need to see this with my own eyes," he decides, summoning his flying sword and soaring away. Soon after, someone arrives at the gates of the 7th peak and bows respectfully. "Elder Xiao," he greets. "I am here on behalf of the sect leader. My name is Yan." Elder Yan, the personal disciple of the sect leader, arrived with an air of arrogance. "Elder Xiao," he said, "I came today to remind you of the upcoming Grand Sect competition, which will take place in 100 days. Please prepare accordingly. But forgive my frankness, your choice of disciple is questionable. Given junior sister Ran's limited talent, I fear that during the competition she'll be easily surpassed and left crying in defeat." Z grew furious at his words and shouted, "How dare you speak like that?" Elder Xiao smiled calmly. "Yan, your vision seems rather limited." The young man frowned, not understanding what the elder meant. "My disciple was an ordinary mortal with no cultivation merely 3 days ago," Xiao explained, "yet now she has already reached the 10th layer of the postnatal realm. With such cultivation speed, I must ask you, Yan, do you still believe she is unworthy?" Yan was utterly shocked. 3 days, 10th stage of the postnatal realm. You must be joking. With a proud grin, Elder Xiao said, "You don't believe me, then show him my disciple. Show him who's in charge." Ziv released her energy, revealing the aura of the 10th stage postnatal realm. Yan's eyes widened in disbelief. This really is the 10th stage of the postnatal realm. But how is that possible? From the shadows, the blonde traitor Liararan watched with shock. Elder Shao continued calmly. All of this is possible, Yan. Sia stuck her tongue out at the arrogant man in defiance. Liararan, still hiding, clenched his fists and thought, that useless girl reached the 10th stage already. With her talent, even cultivating for a lifetime, she could never have reached that stage alone. It seems he really did use his own chi to help her. I didn't expect that old man to change so much, but I've heard transferring one's chi is extremely harmful to cultivation. Perhaps this is a good opportunity to exploit his weakness and gain some benefits from that old fool. Clearly, the schemer was already planning something malicious, and we all know he's doomed for it. In the next scene, we see his plan unfold as he approaches the Elder of the Third Peak, seeking to use him for his plot. Elder Mengyu listens carefully. So you're saying that Elder Jael seized all of Elder Wang's possessions and even passed a supreme technique to his disciple. And you believe he's now weak enough to be taken advantage of for profit? Yes, Liararan replied with a sly smile. Elder Mingyu smirked. Elder Mingyu are wise and a skilled martial artist. It's only right that you receive the majority of cultivation resources within the sect. The old man nodded. In that case, go handle it. If you succeed, I'll accept you as my direct disciple. Meanwhile, in the training chamber, Elder Xiao continued to help Zid. Today, he said, I'll help you break through to a higher realm and cleanse your meridians. If everything goes well, your future cultivation will become much easier. Z was still furious about what the sect leader's disciple Yan had said earlier. With blood boiling in her eyes, she thought, damn you, Yan. How dare you underestimate me? Elder Xiao looked at her determination and thought, although that child was spoiled by the sect leader, seeing such fire in Zia's eyes isn't bad. This is the perfect moment for her to break through and cleanse her meridians. Using the resources he had taken from Elder Wang, he began to assist her. The technique he used caused great pain, but Zi endured it bravely. Soon after, she felt her body grow lighter and purer. At that moment, the system notified him. The host has transferred 200 days of cultivation to the disciple. Spiritual aptitude increased by 70 points. Reward 400 days of cultivation in the aquatonal sword technique. Earth rank low grade. With this, Elder Xiao himself advanced to the 7th level of the Golden Core stage. When the process ended, Zi asked curiously, Master, was that technique meant to purify my meridians and marrow? Now that I've reached the celestial realm, would I be able to defeat Yan? Elder Xiao chuckled. Be brave, find Yan and beat him down. After you defeat him, I'll take you to participate in the World Genius Tournament. Zod's eyes sparkled. Really, Master? You'll take me there? She was ecstatic. Her growth was astonishing. Just wait, the narrator mused, the best is yet to come. Suddenly someone knocked on the door and shouted from outside. Is Elder Xiao here? Your disciple was gravely injured while gathering medicinal herbs for your treatment. His condition is critical. Zod frowned in confusion. Disciple, does Master have another disciple besides me? When they opened the door, they saw the blonde traitor Liararan kneeling on the ground with fake wounds all over his body. He said weakly, Master, your disciple was too weak. I only managed to retrieve a single blood dragon life-saving herb. Please, take it quickly. Z shouted angrily. This traitor who betrayed us to the third peak dares show his face again. Have you no shame? Feigning pain, Liararan said, it's all a misunderstanding. The only reason I joined the third peak was to ask for their help in obtaining this herb to save your life, Master. The disciples behind Elder Meng added, Brother Li nearly lost his life for that herb. How can you treat him so coldly? Even if you lack gratitude, must you respond with hatred? Elder Meng stepped forward. My disciple knelt before me for 3 days, begging for my aid. Even I was moved by his sincerity. Zid clenched her fists. They're spouting nonsense. He clearly betrayed the sect and now he's twisting the truth. Elder Shale gently stopped her. Enough. Let me handle this. After observing everything carefully, he asked calmly, Since you swore loyalty to the third peak, why have you returned now? Do you truly wish to come back under my tutelage? The traitor knelt low and said, I Lira Run acknowledge the weight of my sins and betraying the sect. I am unworthy of calling you my master, the blonde disciple said, bowing low. Master, please accept this blood dragon herb. Two bystanders whispered among themselves, the elder seems perfectly fine. He doesn't look poisoned at all. Looks like that poor Lin kid's talent was ruined for nothing. Without a fourth-grade pill his cultivation is finished. They spoke arrogantly, then added, Elder, I hope you have a fourth-grade pill prepared. Junior brother Lin was harmed because of you. The blonde one quickly feigned humility. No, that's not true. But our clever protagonist, realizing that this was all a setup, smiled and said, Who said I don't need this herb? In fact, I'm quite weak and in desperate need of it to recover my health. Isn't that right, Xenu? He suddenly leaned toward her, pretending to stumble from weakness. She caught him quickly and played along. Yes, master, you've been very weak lately. The three visitors froze, realizing that he was acting as well. The blonde traitor gritted his teeth inwardly. When did this old man become such a shameless actor? Still, he thought, that herb wouldn't have worked anyway. If I can trade it for a fourth-grade pill, I won't really lose anything. Feigning concern, he continued. In that case, master, please take this herb and use it. It would be a waste for someone as unworthy as me to keep it. Elder Shiel kept up his performance, pretending to tremble from weakness. But after hearing that, he suddenly dashed forward, snatched the herb, handed it to Xenu and said calmly, Use this to make chicken soup for dinner. Xenu blinked, utterly confused. The blood dragon herb for chicken soup. Meanwhile, the system rewarded the old trickster for his cunning act. He received a second-grade blood dragon herb for giving the first-grade one to his disciple. The blonde continued, pretending to be emotional. I'm just glad to have helped my master. But Elder Meng, standing nearby, was furious. The two followers behind him protested. Elder Meng, he used his cultivation bravely to save his master. And now he's getting nothing in return. Shouldn't you defend junior brother Lei? Meng, frowning, said with fake righteousness, a human life is at stake. As members of the sect, how can we stand by and let him die? If word spreads, would the seventh peak ever accept disciples again? Elder Exial put on his best righteous master face and said, Since we were once master and disciple, how could I stand by and watch you die? After all, it's only a fourth-grade pill. However, I fear your severely injured body won't withstand the pill's power. How about I first cleanse your meridians and assist your cultivation instead? Elder Meng tried to act friendly. Elder Shiel truly has great appreciation for talented disciples. But inwardly he thought, so it's true, he intends to pass on his abilities. If he's transferring his cultivation, there must be a way to minimize the loss of spiritual power. I must observe carefully. However, he didn't expect that Elder Shiel would use a silencing technique on the blonde disciple, preventing him from saying a word. You were willing to risk your life to obtain medicine from me, Wajiel said coldly, yet you ask for so little in return. I can't let that happen. Then, with a sinister smile, he used a torture technique disguised as a healing method. The blonde disciple screamed in agony instantly. One of the confused bystanders asked, why is his cultivation technique so brutal? Elder Meng replied quickly, don't panic. The technique simply reflects the hardships Elder Shiel endured to reach his current level. But the blonde traitor knew better. He realized the old man wasn't healing him at all. He was destroying his meridians and devouring his cultivation. Unable to speak due to the silencing spell, he stared at Elder Meng with pleading eyes, begging for help. After completely draining the traitor's cultivation, Elder Shiel said calmly, all done. I've applied a very powerful technique to heal your body, but considering your low cultivation, you might not be able to withstand it. Take him back and let him rest. The blonde collapsed on the floor, his spiritual energy utterly destroyed. Elder Shiel, pretending again, sighed and said, that took a lot of my strength as well. Elder Meng, frustrated, thought, I couldn't comprehend that previous technique, but it's clear his aura has weakened. This is the perfect chance to strike. He lunged forward to attack Elder Shiel from behind. But our protagonist had been expecting this. With a smirk he turned and unleashed an even stronger blow, sending Elder Meng flying. "Elder Meng," he said mockingly, "as an elder of the sect, how could you use such despicable methods against a weak and defenseless person like me, someone who was only trying to help his dying disciple?" Elder Meng, realizing too late that his opportunity had been a trap, thought in horror, "How is his spiritual power so strong?" He was thrown violently across the courtyard. Elder Xiao dusted his robe and, as if nothing had happened, turned to his disciple. "Sinu, let's cook that chicken soup." The blonde traitor, barely conscious, looked at the other two disciples and croaked weakly, What are you waiting for?" One of them pulled out a hidden weapon Elder Meng had once obtained during his travels, a strange device that could only be controlled using a special technique. They charged toward Elder Xiao, activating the triple arrow technique, a weapon that no one had ever been able to counter. As the arrows flew toward him, Elder Xiao calmly sidestepped them. "Good thing I took that limitless golden pill," he thought. "It heightened my senses perfectly, allowing me to sense killing intent. Otherwise I might actually be in danger." The two attackers were stunned. How did he dodge that? They fired again. Ignoring them, Elder Xiao said coolly, "Sinu, use the Kanglang sword technique to the southwest." She immediately activated the technique and, almost by instinct, blocked all the arrows perfectly. Talented as she was, she managed to comprehend the first stage of the Kanglang sword intent. As a reward, the Elder granted her the Earth-grade mid-tier Dragon Spirit armor. The technique had only been taught to her for a few days, yet she was already able to grasp the sword intent. The other disciples were astonished and wondered, "How is this possible? Forget about the nascent soul realm, even in the spirit-severing realm, this is undetectable." Startled, Lauren tried to sneak away quietly, but she noticed and said, "Liaran, you betrayed your teacher and brought disgrace upon your ancestors. Now you dare to harm our master. That is unforgivable." She then attacked him using the sword she had received from the Elder and ended his life. The three remaining disciples were terrified and told her not to come closer, warning that the sect master would not let her go unpunished. One of them, still confused, said that both of them were only at the foundation establishment stage, while the Elder was at the golden core stage. "Why should we fear a cultivator of her level?" he asked. The other disciple replied, "Are you blind? Can't you see who's standing behind her?" Behind her stood none other than our incredibly powerful protagonist, radiating a terrifying killing intent. Zanuka, furious, said she would handle them for the master, but he stopped her and said, "Let me teach you something. Sometimes death is more convenient than living." He gave a cold, sinister smile. The two, trembling in fear, asked what he planned to do. He responded, "Are you regretting your actions now? Unfortunately, it's already too late." In the next scene, they are inside the sect leader's hall. Shell reported, "The situation is as follows. Mengu, in collaboration with a sect traitor, came to provoke us for no reason. To protect ourselves, my disciple and I crippled the cultivation of the two disciples. The sect leader, understanding the justice of our actions, surely won't punish us." He said this while the Elder Meng was kneeling beside him. The sect leader looked at the situation and said, "Elder Zhayal, although the traitor is dead, remnants may still remain. However, repeatedly violating the sect rules cannot be ignored." Elder Zhay respectfully replied, "Yes, Zhayoshan will follow the sect leader's instructions." The other elder, enraged, shouted that the sect leader was being biased towards San. "He's clearly twisting the truth and speaking nonsense. I visited him with good intentions, yet he killed my disciple, violating sect rules. He should be expelled as punishment." Shao looked at him and asked, "Did you really just visit him? Didn't you already take Li Haoran as your disciple? You should be responsible for his life and death. What purpose did you have in bringing him to the seventh peak? And what kind of visit requires such preparations? Do you take the sect leader for a fool? You cannot deceive him so easily." Seeing that the elder's lies were exposed, he panicked and said, "I didn't. Don't make false accusations." The sect leader slammed his chair and said, "Enough. It's rare to see Elder Meng act with such passion for defending the sect's rules. In my judgment, since Elder Meng failed to restrain himself and provoked others, He shall set an example by voluntarily sealing his cultivation according to sect law. The old man kneeled and begged for mercy, but the sect leader released his aura and declared, "This matter ends here. Due to Elder Meng's impatience, he will be punished with 3 months of physical penance and 1 month of reflection facing the cliff. No further discussion." Seryun smiled faintly and said, "The sect leader is wise." The guards then took Elder Meng away. Furious, the old man thought, "If I don't avenge this humiliation, I am no longer worthy of being called Meng." In the next scene we see Inu training in her chamber trying to perfect her understanding of the technique. Suddenly, Soren opened the door and asked how her comprehension was progressing. Zanuka, worried about her master, asked if the sect leader had made things difficult for him during the meeting. "I acted impulsively in dealing with the traitor," she said. "If the sect leader wishes to punish someone, I am willing to take responsibility." Shia looked at her and said, "Nonsense, Nu. How could I possibly blame you for that? Don't worry, I will protect you. No one can harm you. Remember this from now on, whether it's a mere traitor, a god, a Buddha, an emperor, or even a prime minister. If anyone dares to offend you, I will strike back. Even if the heavens collapse, I will still protect you." She looked at him, deeply moved and embarrassed. Tears welled up in her eyes as she knelt before him. Surprised, he quickly told her to stand and said, "Just speak if there's something you wish to say." She replied, "I feel there are things that shouldn't be hidden from my master." Then she confessed, "My true name is Lin Zid. I am the daughter of the Lin family, the governors of the Southwest." He asked, "The Lin family of the Southwest? The ones known for their martial arts prowess?" He recalled that more than 10 years ago that family was completely annihilated in a single night. She explained, 10 years ago the Lin family discovered a massive spiritual stone vein within our territory. The abundance of spiritual resources was enough to establish a power on par with the Hong sect. My father, the family head at the time, immediately ordered that this matter remain secret. Fearing that it would bring disaster, my father kept the discovery secret. However, my uncle, driven by selfish motives, sold this information to the Liu sect, as he was dissatisfied with how my father distributed the mineral resources. To seize the spiritual mine, the Liu sect massacred more than 100 members of my family. I survived only by a stroke of luck, protected by my father's final efforts. After I escaped, I was captured by bandits. They stole all my money and sold me to a slave merchant. Fortunately, I met my master, otherwise I don't know where I would be today. What a vile uncle, huh? The previous scene ends with Xenu telling Elder Xiao about her tragic past. The elder bursts into tears and says, "I never imagined that my disciple's life was so miserable. Why didn't you tell me earlier, Anu? No wonder you hate traitors so much. Your actions are justified." Man, this guy is such a hypocrite. He grabs her by the arm and tells her to come down the mountain with him. She asks, "Where are we going, master?" But he immediately says, "Since you begged me to take you as my disciple, we must show gratitude by avenging those who have wronged you. I will personally take revenge with my own hands. Don't worry." She looks at her master with complete trust and starts crying again. She hugs him like a child and says, "I only wish for you to live in peace. I would be willing to kneel by your side for the rest of my life if it means staying with you, master." He gently pats her head and tells her to stop crying. "There's no need to be so gloomy," he says. "You will rise to the top with me. Your future is limitless. Now let's go." And she, wiping her tears, replies, "Okay, let's go." Later in the forest near the city of Liwum, 2 disciples of the sect are being attacked by a group of men. One of them, Biao, says, "I should have known it was you. You'd let others die just to save your own skin. Only someone like you would do such a thing." Behind him stands another disciple, Ali King, who points his sword at an old man. The old man reveals himself as Zingi, from the ghost sect of the Sun and Moon, and says, "Ah, so you're a disciple of the Blue Fairy. You've killed several of my subordinates using the green dual sword technique. Your master truly lives up to her reputation. However, this ends here. I'll kill you both." He lunges forward with full force, but suddenly, a phantom sword flies toward him. Shocked, he asks, "Who did that?" The other disciples also look around in confusion, not understanding where the sword came from. Then Xiao and Xinu arrive. Xiao says, I told you that you were too impatient, but the old man looks at Xinu and says with a lecherous grin, Ah, a little beauty, you've disturbed me, how will you compensate me for that? He begins licking his sword disgustingly. Xenu, disgusted, replies, Your words are obscene, old man. She charges at him with her sword, but he quickly parries and knocks her weapon away. The old man laughs. Little beauty, didn't your master ever teach you not to act recklessly? The two disciples warn her to be careful, saying she'll die if she keeps this up. But Xenu calmly forms a sword from her fingers and says, My master taught me how to deal with scum like you. Instantly, multiple spiritual swords pierce the old man and he collapses to the ground. She picks up his storage pouch, hands it to her master and says, This is his King Kuru pouch. I already checked it, just a few spirit stones and some pills, nothing valuable. Xia tells her to keep it. The two rescued disciples approach them and say, Thank you so much for helping us. We are disciples of Elder Zuan from the Hongmeng sect. May we know your names? The elder replies, Ah, so you're disciples of Senior Remens, aren't you? I'm Sorn from the 7th Peak, and this is my disciple Xinu. The two disciples who weren't very familiar with Elder Sorn bow respectfully. Sorn waves his hand and says, No need for such formality. I'm just curious, what are you doing in such a remote place? And how did you end up fighting members of the Ghost Sect? Balu explains, the Ghost Sect has always held a grudge against the Hongmen sect. Some of them even kill our members just for pleasure. This time they attacked us because of this herb, the 1,000-year heartless grass, a low-grade spiritual herb. He continues, although it's just a foundation establishment pill material, it's worth a lot of money. We found it with great effort at an auction house, but since the information was leaked, Sengi's group came after us. If you hadn't arrived in time, Elder, we would have been robbed and killed by the Ghost Sect. Please, take this herb as a token of gratitude for saving our lives. Shayol replies, Since you managed to acquire this millennial herb, you were probably planning to refine foundation establishment pills, weren't you? Are you sure you want to give it to me? Bilu nods. Our master taught us to be grateful and to repay those who save us. Elder, you deserve this. Shayol smiles and says, Since you are disciples of Senior Remens, then after refining the pills I'll give a few back to you. The two thank him deeply. But then Xiao looks behind them with suspicion and says, It's too early to be offering me gifts. Let me teach you something in the future. When you kill someone, make sure to eliminate the root of the problem. He throws a phantom sword into the woods, splitting a tree in half, and two hidden figures are revealed. A woman wearing an ugly hat and a shirtless man. Both are terrified, realizing they'd been caught spying. The woman kneels and shouts angrily, How dare you act so arrogantly before me when you're only at the early stage of the Golden Core realm? The shirtless man glares at Xiao and yells, And you still dare to kill my disciple even though you're so weak, the shirtless man mocked. Lucky for us we were nearby, even in death. You wouldn't escape us. The man's name was Baianzi, from the Ghost Sect, and the woman beside him was King Yangi. She was at the 4th level of the Golden Core realm, while he was at the 3rd. Xian looked at the two and said, I've heard of the twin elders of the Ghost Sect, known as the Yin-Yang deities. Your regenerative abilities are impressive, and you're known for capturing your targets in no time. Before descending the mountain, Xiao had used a technique to conceal his aura, and he was certain these two weren't very bright. Baianzi swung his chain and snarled, You know our reputation and still dare to face us without fear. I want to see how you defend yourself. He unleashed his technique, sending countless blood-red chains toward Jiao. This chain, he boasted, is forged with the blood of thousands. Even a nascent soul cultivator wouldn't withstand it. Let's see how this little brat deals with it. The protagonist took a few steps back and thought, such arrogant words. As long as I don't touch those chains, I'll be fine. But before he realized it, skeletal hands emerged from the ground, gripping his legs tightly. The woman, surrounded by countless tormented souls, smirked and said, My soul-feeding staff is forged from the sacrificed souls of many children, the elderly, the young. Once you're caught within its grasp, you'll never escape. Yang looked at them and said calmly, Ah, So you two can actually coordinate attacks. Not bad. King Yangi grinned wickedly. Then suffer until death, she hissed. Now completely surrounded by chains and skeletal hands dragging him down, escape seemed impossible. The three nearby disciples trembled in fear and shouted for him to be careful, but Xiao only smiled faintly. He drew his spiritual swords and threw them forward. The swords sliced through the chains effortlessly and flew straight toward the two enemies. The woman's expression shifted. Careful, she warned, but Bayanzi laughed. Ha! Spiritual swords? How naive, as if that could hurt us. Before he could finish, one of the swords pierced straight through his spiritual defense and impaled his head. He dropped dead instantly. The woman froze in terror. How can a spiritual sword possess such power? This is bad, she thought. Panicked, she turned to flee, her face twisted with fear. Shao smirked. Oh, you think you can run? Don't even dream of escaping from me. He unleashed a golden sword spirit toward her. Desperate, she pulled out multiple weapons from her staff to block it, activating a pentagram formation surrounded by floating blades. But Xiao shouted to the souls trapped within her weapon. Once this technique breaks, you'll all be free. The enslaved souls heard his words and realized this was their only chance for release. They turned against their master, swarming her. King Yangi screamed, "What are you doing? He's the enemy." But it was too late, the spirits devoured her alive. Moments later she was gone, consumed by her own vengeful souls. Xiao looked at the lingering spirits and said gently, "Go now, reincarnate and find peace." The two disciples stood speechless. The two powerful ghost sect elders, known for their deadly strength, had just been slain by Yeo with only 2 moves. They whispered among themselves, could Elder Suan already be at the nascent soul realm? Xinyu, beaming with joy, collected their weapons and said, "Here are all their treasures, master." The protagonist chuckled, "Not bad, my obedient disciple. You can keep them. There's also a pouch that belonged to Zangi. It's yours now." Her eyes sparkled as she bowed gratefully. The two disciples, however, were stunned. How could Elder Xiao just hand over so many powerful treasures to his disciple? They thought, does the 7th peak have so much wealth to spare? Xinyu opened one of the pouches and said, "There are over 10,000 low-grade spirit stones and several elixirs inside, but master, how could I possibly use all of this by myself?" He smiled. "I've already given them to you, do with them as you wish." Meanwhile he silently checked his system, which displayed his rewards: 1 immortal nutrient pill level 4, a king ring with a capacity of 15,000 cubic meters, 5 millennial heartless herbs, and 2,000 absolute grade spirit stones. There were 4 grades of spirit stones: low, mid, high, and absolute. The exchange ratio between each level was typically 1 to 100, which meant he now effectively possessed the equivalent of 2 billion low-grade spirit stones. He grinned widely. "Now, I'm rich." Later Xenu approached her master and said, "I already have the best King Kun ring. May I give these 2 storage pouches to those disciples?" The 2 disciples blushed in embarrassment. "We couldn't possibly accept such gifts," they said. "We're far too poor to own something as valuable as a storage artifact." But Xiao patted Xenu's head and said, "It's fine, you can do as you please." She handed the pouches to them, saying they should keep them safe. Watching her, Io thought, "Xenu and I make quite the good team." After the protagonist and Xenu left, the 2 disciples sighed and muttered, "Damn it, if only we had joined the 7th peak, we'd be rich too." Later in the city of Loyum, inside an alchemy chamber, Xenu asked, "Master, what are you doing here?" He replied, "The millennial heartless herb we obtained can be used to refine foundation creation pills for you. To prevent the medicine from losing its potency, we should refine it right away." Nearby, a beautiful blonde girl, overhearing their conversation, thought to herself, foundation creation pills. You need to be at least, to refine a foundation creation pill, one must be at least at the golden core cultivation level. Then man is so young, and he has already reached the golden core realm. This is truly impressive. I want to see this for myself. After the protagonist, acting all confident, tries to make the pill on his own, the furnace simply explodes with him and Azanu nearby. The blonde girl just stands there shocked. Azinu, injured, asks him if he really knows how to refine elixirs, but he replies embarrassed, "Well, I've never made a foundation creation pill before." In fact, he had never even refined one before. The blonde girl starts laughing while looking at them. She walks closer and says, "Young master, if you wish to perfect the foundation creation pill, I can help you." Azinu looks at her and exclaims, "Wow, such a beautiful sister. Sounds great." The protagonist turns to see who is speaking to them, and she explains, "Well, I can make the pill, but the foundation creation pill requires pouring a large amount of spiritual energy into it, and the young master must do that himself." Some people nearby watch them talk and whisper among themselves, "Wow, Miss Suze is teaching for free today. What a kind person." The protagonist soon realizes that despite being so young, she is already a level 2 alchemist. Truly talented, he thanks the lady and says he will pay double if she succeeds. She begins refining, placing various herbs, elixirs, and crystals into the furnace. With skillful manipulation, she quickly and perfectly succeeds in producing the pills. She places them in a bottle and hands it over to them. The protagonist thanks her, offering payment, but she replies, "No, it's not necessary. It was just a small favor. Keep your money." At that moment they hear commotion nearby. Many people are running, shouting that the auction on the second floor is about to begin, and that even a heaven-grade sword will be up for sale. They realize they should go too. The blonde girl seems surprised and remembers that she also needs to attend the auction to buy something. She waves goodbye to them and leaves. The protagonist and Azinu, a bit confused, think about the upcoming auction. A heaven-grade sword, but doesn't Azinu already have a weapon? The only thing the protagonist thinks is that he'll receive rewards from his system if he buys everything at the auction and gives it to Azinu. He invites her to go to the auction for fun and she happily agrees, saying, "All right, let's go." On the second floor of the building where the auction takes place, the auctioneer starts speaking. He presents a whip made from 1,000-year-old ironwood, infused with spiritual energy and embedded with spirit stones to multiply its power. The starting bid is 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Azinu immediately raises her paddle and shouts, 1,000. Everyone is shocked. How can those two spend so much? Are they really that rich? Every time their bids are higher and higher, paying absurd amounts. The blonde girl Sue just thinks, wow, are they really this wealthy? Next comes the main item of the auction, the molten core fire lotus, a superior grade treasure. The auctioneer explains that after testing it, the lotus's quality is exceptional, so the starting price is 1 million low-grade spirit stones. Sershin had only come to the auction for this lotus, determined to win it no matter what. However, she becomes nervous when those two immediately raise their paddle and offer 2 million. Stunned, she drops her paddle to the floor. The auctioneer calls out, 2 million. Any higher offers? Silence. Going once, going twice. Sold. Many people sigh, admitting they can't compete with such a high price. The auctioneer strikes the hammer. Sold for 2 million. The protagonist looks at the situation and thinks, damn, people say money doesn't bring happiness, but this feels amazing. Azinu stands behind him, muttering, what a shameless guy. The auctioneer walks over, hands them the fire lotus and congratulates them for the purchase. Azinu admires it, saying, wow, such a beautiful lotus, while Sue, disappointed in the back, laments not winning it. She looks at the duo again and wonders, are they really going to buy everything at this auction? Maybe if I ask nicely they'll let me have the lotus. Gathering her courage, she approaches them and says, young master, may I ask you something? Azinu recognizes her and says, oh, isn't that the alchemist from earlier? Sue kneels before them and pleads, young master, my name is Su Murhan. My father has practiced martial arts for a long time, but he urgently needs the fire lotus to recover. Please, could you sell it to me? I promise to repay the favor by working hard for you. The protagonist and Azinu are both surprised. She seems truly desperate. Azinu looks at her and asks softly, master, can we give it to her? He glances at Azinu and says, well, the fire lotus belongs to you. You can do whatever you want with it. Sakri is moved and says, thank you. Since it's mine now, then But before she finishes, a whip lashes toward them, and someone shouts for them to wait. Azinu turns around, quickly draws her sword and strikes back, furious. Who dares attack me and my master? Everyone in the hall is stunned. A fight, here. A bystander mutters, "Hey girl, my young master offered 3 million spirit stones for that lotus." The crowd gasps. 3 million, that's outrageous. The man continues, 3 million is nothing to young master Su, right? The attacker reveals himself, Wang Hong, son of the city lord of Li Weiden. Su looks up, irritated. Him again, what a nuisance. The protagonist, confused, wonders if they know each other. The people around whisper among themselves, watching the tension rise. The people nearby whispered that the young master of the city was once again harassing Miss Su. How tragic. Ever since Miss Su became the head of the Su family, the young master had been pursuing her relentlessly. Just watching her made them feel worried. One of the young master's lackeys shouted at Chao Chuan, "Hey! Didn't you hear? Our young master wants to buy the fire lotus. Why don't you come over and hand it to him with both hands? Are you joking? We're not selling it to you." Immediately, Murhan stepped forward and told her to stop. "Don't be unreasonable, boy. You can't offend someone so easily." The protagonist thought to himself, it seems she has some connection with him, doesn't she? She explained, "Well, that man is the son of the city lord Lo Yun, and can be considered the supreme authority here. He once came to my door to propose marriage, but I refused. Since then he has been pursuing me everywhere. I truly feel sorry for both of you, but I cannot buy it. I don't want to cause trouble. Here are 50,000 spirit stones as compensation. Now, I'll leave." She walked away, saddened by the situation. The protagonist was confused, but he thought, she can handle this. Don't panic when facing changes. She is a second-level alchemist at such a young age. She is truly worth teaching. Just as she was leaving, the protagonist called out, "Wait, miss, I will give you the fire lotus and handle the young master for you, but there's one condition." She turned back confused. "What condition?" "The condition is that you must revere me as your master." His red eyes glowed intensely. She was surprised and said, "Wow, that's it?" "Yes. As long as you can save my father, Morin, I am willing to do anything." She knelt and formally acknowledged him as her new master. He asked her to rise and declared, "From now on you are my second disciple." Immediately the system notified him, congratulating him for accepting a new disciple. It detected that this disciple had a human-level alchemy heart, increasing her alchemy success rate by 30%. His reward for taking her as a disciple was a Earth-level alchemy heart, increasing success rate by 70%. The system displayed her full information. Her name was Sumurhan. She was his second true disciple. Her comprehension was 60 points, aptitude 50 points, and her alchemy talent was human level. He could further improve her abilities. He thought her alchemy heart is excellent, but her aptitude and comprehension are only average. Seems like she will need to focus on imbuing and transmitting alchemy power. Well, in that case, now that she is my disciple, Xenu, take care of those 2 dogs for me. "Yes, master," she said, charging at them with full force. She kicked one of them squarely in the face without warning. The young master had no idea what hit him. She was that strong. Holding her sword, she declared she was fed up with these people. The young master, terrified, stammered, You dare hit my men? Do you know who my father is?" She ignored him, advancing and saying she would make him unrecognizable in front of his father. Just as she prepared to strike, he screamed, "Nameless, nameless, save me." A masked figure blocked her attack and protected the young master. Azzy was slightly surprised that her sword had been blocked and noticed the masked figure. The protagonist realized he was not facing a weak opponent. The masked man was at the first level of nascent soul. The young master, who seconds ago had been crying but now acted arrogant, shouted at her, "Are you crazy? Keep attacking him." He ordered his bodyguards to beat her and the boy behind her. Everyone involved froze. The masked figure shouted back, "I was ordered to protect the young master, not to interfere in any fights he wants to start." The young master, a complete weakling, was utterly shocked. Amid the chaos, the auctioneer slammed the hammer and shouted, Stop fighting. Where do you think you are? Fighting is strictly forbidden here. The guards expelled everyone from the auction hall. Before leaving, the young master threatened, "It won't be easy for you to escape. You better control the city of Lao or I'll get you." Ozzy was annoyed, but the protagonist simply told her to ignore it. The young master would get what he deserved. One of the young master's followers asked the protagonist, "Are you really going to let this go?" The young master snapped back, "Let them go. Do you think I'm that easy to convince? We'll catch them as soon as they leave the house. It won't break any rules, and we won't get in trouble." As soon as they stepped outside, the young master cursed and threatened to kill the man and humiliate him in the streets. He also planned to take the women home. His assistant searched for them, trying to find their location. Had they escaped? Before they could react, Surin intercepted the young master's intent, hiding behind a wall and launching a flying sword at him. The masked figure noticed it immediately and tried to block, but Surin's sword shattered the block and struck the young master squarely on the forehead. What happened next? He fell to the ground. The assistant screamed, "How dare you kill someone in Extre's territory?" But the protagonist calmly told them not to. "Be brazen if you want. I waited until you left the house to settle the score with you. This has nothing to do with anyone else's rules, and we aren't breaking them." The young master's assistant was furious, realizing that this was exactly what they intended to do. The masked man threw his sword to the ground and said, "This young master is arrogant, foolish, and irritating, but since I was paid to protect him, I must be loyal to my master. If anyone I am protecting dies, I would have to take their head to my master, otherwise the Wang family will hunt me to the ends of the earth." The protagonist smirked and said, "Your sword is damaged. Let's see how you fight me." He assumed a battle stance, surrounded by multiple flying swords. Before he could react, the masked man activated a skill that transformed part of his body into a dragon-like form. "I possess beast blood," he said. His body was incredibly hard. Harder than a sword. The protagonist said, "Really? Let's test that." He hurled multiple swords at him. As soon as the swords struck, the masked man effortlessly caught them and snapped one in half. "Useless," he said. "No sword can hit me." The protagonist frowned. "So none of the 7 swords are effective, huh? But what about this one behind you?" He launched a sword straight at the masked man's back. Reflexively, the masked man caught it, but the sword still pierced his skin, cutting him. Black blood seeped from the wound. Sha observed. "Even though he blocked the sword, it looks like his hand is badly injured. Now I want to see how he handles the next attack." The protagonist hurled another sword, using movements so fast and precise that the masked man couldn't even perceive them. The masked man activated another technique, boasting an impressive set of skills. His beast blood lineage allowed him to heal rapidly, which concerned the protagonist. "Ah, he can recover. This will be tough," he thought. The masked man broke the incoming sword and said, "I cannot die from just this sword. Why is this sword technique so powerful? Just resisting its force drained nearly all my strength. If he launches more swords, I'm finished." The protagonist realized the masked man was reaching his limit, thinking, "Even I am getting tired using so much spiritual power. Normal magical swords are too weak against him. This fire lotus cultivated with the purest element of fire is perfect for refining weapons. I must use this opportunity to enhance my equipment." He fused his magical weapon, previously an ordinary sword, with the fire lotus, making it far more powerful. "Truly an extraordinary and dominant sword," he said, feeling elated just by looking at it. It was massive and strong. He named it Fire of Happiness and launched it toward the masked man. The masked man realized too late that he was in trouble. This sword was much stronger than the previous ones. Even trying to block it, he was cut, and when he looked at his arm, it was severed midway despite his active skill. What kind of fire elemental essence is this? This is bad, really bad. I'm going to die here, he thought. He raised a barrier shield to protect himself and attempted to recover. He realized he could not fight this person directly. The protagonist activated another skill, and the sword returned. The masked man's shield shattered as multiple swords surrounded him. He was utterly trapped. Realizing he had no options, he surrendered, saying, "If you want to kill me or damage my cultivation, I will do nothing." The protagonist saw that he had surrendered and said, "Leave it be." The masked man did not understand. The protagonist explained, "Since you feel comfortable admitting defeat, I will spare your life." He noted that the masked man was strong and courageous but slightly arrogant. Before leaving with the women, he revealed his name, Sakuro Chuan. "If you seek revenge, come at any time. But remember, failing as a bodyguard carries consequences. Someone will come to collect the debt. Let's see how you survive." The masked man panicked. He was in serious trouble. The protagonist called the two women to go to Sue's father's house. She thanked the master while Xenu smiled, impressed by his power. The masked man watched them leave, thinking that such achievements from someone so young were truly extraordinary. He left, his arm still injured, realizing the only thing he could do now was survive the Wang family's pursuit. Meanwhile, at the Seoul mansion, a truly magnificent residence, Xenu remarked to Seoul, "You really seem to come from a wealthy family. Look at the size of this house." So explained, "Back when my father lived here, the mansion was indeed prosperous, but ever since I took over as the family representative, the Seoul mansion has been declining day by day. It's now far from what it used to be." She looked a bit sad and said, "Actually, we shouldn't have killed Wang Kong, the young master. His father Wang Shen is not only the city lord but also an elder of the Luoyuan sect. In the past, he has followed the current sect leader in dangerous situations and has a close relationship with him. By provoking him, we are not just facing Wang Kong. Also, future problems with the Luoyuan sect might arise. If he dares to come here, I'll do whatever it takes to make sure he never returns." Accepting Leah was our first goal when we descended the mountains. She opens the mansion door for them to enter and says, "This is the main hall." But when she looks ahead, she sees her second uncle Sungum sitting in the patriarch's chair. He starts hitting the armrest and says, "Somun, you disgrace. You still have the nerve to come back after causing us so many problems." She's confused. "Second uncle, what are you doing here? And why are all the clan elders gathered?" The protagonist and Xenu quickly realize that this situation is unusual. By looking at everyone's faces, they can tell these people are not friendly. Then her third aunt, Surium, snaps, "How dare you ask that? If we hadn't come, how would we know that the Su family had been sold out by you? You shameless girl, how dare you take advantage of my older brother's illness to seize the Su family's property in the Celestial Destiny Pavilion?" Samun insists, "It's not like that. I didn't do it on purpose. I only wanted to buy the molten fire lotus to save my father's life." But her aunt interrupts harshly, "What happened to the lotus? Where is it?" She shows it to them. "It's right here," she says happily. "I finally got it. It will really help my father." But right then her second uncle releases his power, trying to snatch the lotus from her. Sumrin realizes it and shouts, "Second uncle, what are you doing? This lotus is to save my father." Just as his power is about to hit her, Sakuri Chuan suddenly appears in front of her, surrounded by countless swords. He says coldly, "I'd like to see who dares lay a hand on my disciple." The old man immediately feels terrified. What is this monstrous power? Impossible. I can't defeat him. I need to escape. He tries to flee, but the swords surround him, forming a frame around his body against the wall. Her uncle, alarmed, asks, "What's going on?" "Second brother," and the man warns, "Be careful of those swords. They're extremely powerful." Her aunt glares at Samun and shouts, "What are you trying to do now? Bringing outsiders to fight your own family?" Samun blushes in shame. "No, you misunderstood me," she says softly. But her aunt cuts her off, saying they don't want to hear a word from her. The protagonist observes the whole situation and quickly understands they're trying to take advantage of her. The aunt glares at him and demands, "What are you looking at? Tell me, what will you do?" Before anyone can react, the protagonist throws a sword near her feet. Terrified, she falls to the ground. "Whoever takes another step," he warns coldly, "will be finished." His aura flares and several swords float in the air. The other uncles, now trembling, say nervously, "We won't do anything rash. Even if the second and third siblings were impulsive, we're still family, aren't we? We're connected by blood." there's no need for violence. But someone furious and heartbroken shouts through tears, "Family? You call yourselves family now? When my father lost his mind, did any of you care about me? You only used his illness to steal his belongings. I bet all of you wished he'd die." Xenu grabs her arm, trying to calm her. "Stop talking," she whispers, but someone continues, "You're all shameless, worse than animals." The protagonist gently places his hand on her shoulder to steady her and says, "Merhun, since you're now my disciple, let me give you your first lesson as your master. When you face those who hurt you, speak with strength and nothing else." He then points his swords toward the family, and they all panic in terror. He turns back to her and asks calmly, "Merhun, tell me, what do you want to do? Should I suppress them or eliminate them?" The uncles fall to their knees, trembling. "Suppress, eliminate. You'd really kill us," they cry. Morhan hesitates, frightened, unsure what to say. Finally, she kneels and pleads, "Please suppress my family. Take away their cultivation, but let them live." The protagonist smirks, flicks open his fan, and says, "All right, Morhan, go save your father, leave the rest to me." She starts to cry, thanking her master, while Xenu pulls her away to treat her father. As Merhan looks back, she sees her master standing with his fan in hand, striking his usual elegant pose. She blushes slightly. "Master." He closes the fan, taps it against his palm, and says coldly, "Now let's begin the fun. Who should I start with?" The second uncle, perhaps." Her uncle screams, "No, please, don't." But before he can move, his cultivation begins to vanish. The others, frozen with fear, press against the wall, awaiting their fate. Shuchuan grins. "So, who wants to go next?" Terrified, the uncles try to run, but the swords chase them down. "No one escapes from here," Shuchuan declares. One by one, he destroys their cultivation. From afar, someone looks back and sees the scene. She realizes that no one had ever helped her without wanting something in return. Now she must work hard to repay the favor she owes her master. Clutching his sleeve, she walks away, determined to save her father. After some time, inside Sui's father's room, Suzinan, he was still asleep. Sumian felt sad and shaken because he hadn't woken up or shown any signs of recovery. Then Xenu entered and said, "Sister, all your family members have lost their cultivation and are now imprisoned in the dungeon." Sanmu thanked her master and said that was enough. Sanmu approached her and asked, "How's your father? Is he all right? Has he woken up?" But Sanmu, with a heavy heart, replied that he still hadn't awakened, and she didn't know what was going on. Even after giving him the lotus, there were no signs of improvement. The protagonist then stepped forward and asked if he could take a look. She agreed. When he checked her father's condition through his pulse, he realized that Suzanen wasn't insane as they believed. He had actually suffered an assassination attempt, which caused his spiritual veins to rupture. If he hadn't consumed so many elixirs over the years, the pain would have been unbearable, and he might not even be alive now. Samu was shocked. What? How could this happen? But the protagonist told her not to panic. For now, his condition is stable, he said, then channeling his spiritual power into Suzanan's body, he began to repair the damaged veins. "I have to rebuild his meridians one by one," he explained. "After mastering the 10,000-kilometer sword control technique, my precision with spiritual power has improved greatly. Even delicate tasks like repairing meridians and veins are no problem for me." Guess the protagonist is a doctor now too. Suzanan started coughing and twitching, trying to wake up. When he opened his eyes, he looked at his daughter and said weakly, "Merkron, is that you?" She quickly held his hand. "Father, how do you feel? Are you all right?" He said he was fine, just a bit weak. But suddenly his expression changed, as if remembering something terrible. "Merkron, where is your second uncle?" he asked anxiously. She was confused. "Why are you mentioning second uncle?" He explained, "In recent years I've been working to improve the formula of the restorative elixir, and I finally made some progress. My newly developed elixir requires low-quality materials but very high cultivation and alchemy skills. Since I didn't have enough cultivation, I asked your second uncle for help, but unexpectedly he attacked me from behind while I was refining the elixir. I had no hostility toward him, not in the past nor recently, but I suppose he hated me because our father chose me as the head of the Soup family instead of him. Sumu clenched her fists in rage and slammed the table. So it was him, wasn't it? The protagonist stroked his chin thoughtfully. A restorative elixir. Huh? That should be a third-level elixir. It could be a great way to strengthen Somu's foundation in alchemy. I'll need to make some preparations. And so, the scene concluded with the elder helping his new disciple Su Murhan get rid of her treacherous uncles and save her father from death. Afterwards, he discovered a way to help his disciple grow stronger and more talented by investigating the formula her father had mentioned. Of course, he expected to receive some rewards in return. He wasn't a fool. After Suzinan spoke about the formula, the protagonist asked to borrow it, but Suzinan, still confused, asked who he was. Murhan quickly explained, "He's my new master, Elder Hong Men, the one who saved you." Suzinan's face lit up with joy and gratitude. He thanked the protagonist not only for accepting his daughter as a disciple but also for saving his life. Then he walked to the corner of the room, knocked twice on a wooden panel, and revealed a hidden compartment. That's where he had kept his secret scrolls. The old man was no fool. He handed over the formula, saying, "Since you saved my family, I gladly give you this formula as thanks." The protagonist immediately asked, "Were you unable to perfect it?" Suzinan sighed, "I was very close, but unfortunately my brother interrupted me before I could finish." The protagonist, who had gained immense alchemical knowledge from his system, smiled and said, "No problem, just add yellow field grass, and it'll be perfect." Hearing that, Murhan suddenly understood the improved version of her family's recipe. Her alchemy talent instantly rose to the mysterious level, exactly what her master had hoped for. As a reward, the protagonist himself gained celestial-level alchemy talent. There was quite a win. With just a small bit of guidance, he had managed to unlock her hidden potential and enhance his own power. Now he even had new ideas for creating his own unique elixirs. Suzinan, looking emotional, said to his daughter, "I'm sorry for leaving you to handle the Suzin family alone all this time." But Murhan smiled softly. "I only wanted to take care of you, father. I have no regrets." She explained that she had even mortgaged the family pharmacy to pay for his treatment and apologized, saying, "The So family might never rise again because of me." But the protagonist quickly interrupted their sorrow with a grin. "Don't be so gloomy. I've got a great idea, one that'll help the Su family rise faster than ever." With his usual cunning look, he continued, "We'll recruit alchemy apprentices and have them sign lifelong contracts forbidding them from revealing our formulas. If they refuse, we'll make them sign non-compete agreements so they can't use our recipes outside our territory. Otherwise," he smirked, "we'll deal with them our way." The three looked at him in confusion. Then Shu Trun, with his sly grin, added, "Soon everyone will know how powerful we are." After that, he prepared to leave and told Murhan to get some pills ready for testing. Then he called Xenu, saying he needed her help with something important. Later, the two of them were in the dungeon. The protagonist said to Xenu, "If you can't finish practicing your sword tea today, we're not leaving." After a long time, Xenu finally began counting under her breath, 9,009 to 99 to 9 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 to 10,000. And with that, she had gained the ability to. Zhuchuan unleashed his technique, one sword of 10,000 blades. Thousands of swords floated in the air, gleaming with killing intent. The one in their sights was Surhan's uncle, who was absolutely terrified at that moment. The protagonist said calmly, "The next step is to merge them all into one giant sword." The swords began to converge, condensing into a massive blade above them. Both Shuchuan and Murhan smiled proudly as the technique succeeded, but Murhan's treacherous uncle was practically shaking in his boots. Shou Chuan looked at him coldly. "When you hurt Murhan's father, did you ever think a day like this would come? Now throw the sword." Murhan took a deep breath and hurled the sword toward her uncle, but missed. Her uncle screamed desperately, begging for his life. Furious, Murhan tried again and again, each time coming closer. One swing barely grazed him, dangerously close to a very sensitive spot, making the man scream in agony. He was already on the verge of collapse, begging for death, but she couldn't seem to hit him cleanly. She kept trying, over and over, for what felt like half an hour. Finally, one last strike pierced him through. The wretched uncle fell and Merhan had done it. She had mastered the Manlin sword technique. As a result, the protagonist received tenfold mastery of the sword technique and obtained a flexible finger blade, a top-quality Earth-grade weapon. Now, with two flexible swords in his possession, he thought to himself that he could combine them into one and become even stronger. He chuckled. Isn't this way easier than cultivating myself? It was clear he much preferred sitting back and collecting rewards. Afterward, he called for Xenu to check if Murran needed any assistance. Meanwhile, in another scene, at the mansion of Lord Louis, three servants carried in the body of the young master from earlier chapters. Trembling, they stood before the city lord and said, "Young master has been murdered." The city lord exploded with rage. "You useless fools, I pay you to protect him, and this is what happens. If you don't bring me the assassin's head, you won't leave this place alive." The servants shook with fear, realizing they were doomed. One of them stammered. It was done by Xiao Xuan, an elder of the Hongmeng sect. The man in the mask, Ming, fought him but was defeated within a few moves. "He's too strong. We couldn't stop him." The city lord's fury flared as his golden core aura erupted, sending the servants flying across the room. If that's true, he thought darkly, and this Xiao Chakran really defeated Ming in just a few moves, then his strength is far beyond what I can handle. He kicked the servants aside and roared, "Get out of my sight." His eyes burned with hatred. "The only way to avenge my son's death is to request help from the Lian sect." He immediately set out toward the Lian sect, ordering his men to send invitations to all the noble families in the city, even to the Su family, with the goal of targeting Xiao Xuan. His face twisted with rage, veins bulging. He swore, "I'll avenge my son. I'll tear Xiao Xuan to pieces." At the same time, back at the Su family mansion, a magnificent place by the way, they received an invitation from the Wang family to attend a banquet that evening to discuss the current state of the family. Sorhan grew uneasy when she read it. Clearly this banquet was meant to draw her master out. Xenu, fired up, shouted, "We have to leave the city now. Let's go straight to the Wang estate and crush those bastards ourselves. I want to see what that old Wang thinks he's doing." But Shuchuan, calmly eating his boiled egg, replied, "No, I can't refuse such an invitation. Of course I'll attend." Xenu blinked in disbelief. "Master, are you really going to that banquet?" He gestured for her to sit down and said, "Lian Shen will be there. Don't you want revenge?" Marhan's eyes widened. "Lian Shen, the uncle who betrayed our family. That filthy traitor will be there." Sakari Shan twirled his fan and smiled slyly. He trusts too much in the power of the Liuan sect, thinking they're unstoppable. That arrogance will be his downfall. So what do you say, Xenu? Care to join me and stir up a bit of chaos at this banquet? Xenu's eyes gleamed with battle intent. "I'll do whatever my master commands." Merhan, however, looked uneasy, a bad feeling forming in her chest. "I have a feeling someone's going to get hurt tonight," she thought. The protagonist turned to her. "How's the pill production going?" Merhan reported, "So far we've reclaimed 17 of the Su family's old pill factories. We're still recruiting alchemy apprentices, and earlier this afternoon we released the recovery pill for sale. We sold 50 bottles and earned 5,000 low-grade spirit stones." He frowned slightly. 50 bottles? That's far too few. "Have you analyzed the reason?" She nodded. "Yes. The primary function of the Shen pill is to clear the mind and regulate internal energy. Its uses are somewhat limited. Also, today was only the first test sale." With his growing alchemical knowledge, Shu Tran pulled out several recipe scrolls of his own creation. Handing them to her, he said, "These are improved third-level elixirs." Han's eyes sparkled with joy. "All of these are for me." She flipped through the recipes and gasped. "This one's a refined golden core pill. The healing effect is at least 10 times stronger than the traditional one. It can easily save a person's life." She looked utterly amazed, realizing these pills would sell like crazy. Meanwhile, Suchuan was grinning to himself. "I love money and money loves me." Ah, the blissful life of Suchuan. Lying down and collecting money is just around the corner. Now it's nighttime, and they are heading to the city lord's mansion. Upon arriving, they go with Suyen's father and are greeted by the city lord Wang. He greets brother Suyen as distinguished guest, saying he was worried when he heard that Suye had fallen ill. Unexpectedly, after recovering from the illness, the family's elixir business has once again reached a higher level in the city. Truly a great blessing. In the back stands that treacherous uncle, the one responsible for the death of their parents. X watches him closely, observing his every move. Han's father steps forward, thanking the city lord for his concern. Then, with a shameless grin, the city lord turns to greet X personally, saying, "So you're the man of the rumors, the one who helped the Su family rise again. The man who took Suren as his disciple and helped her reach level 3 in alchemy, isn't that right, Mr. Sha?" Suren looks at him seriously and replies, "That's right, you are very kind, aren't you?" That long-nosed man in the back thinks to himself, "So this is Yuan, this is the man the city lord invited to tonight's banquet." The city lord personally invited Golden Core elders from the Lui sect to assist. Our men are already disguised as guests, waiting for the order to kill him. As he looks behind Jiorn, he freezes. That girl, she looks familiar. Could it be? No, impossible. I saw my men throw her off the cliff with my own eyes. There's no way she's still alive. The city lord smiles and says, "Come, brother Suya. Everyone is waiting for you at the banquet." They all enter, unaware that the city lord's real plan is to capture Xianan. As they sit near the city lord, he begins questioning him. "You must be a 5th level Golden Core master, right? For someone so young, that's very impressive. And you have 2 great disciples with you. You must have a bright future ahead." Another man at a nearby table chimes in, "This Mr. Shak really is a talented person, isn't he?" Soren, pretending to be a fool, laughs loudly and says, "Oh, that's very good, thank you everyone." He starts acting drunk and arrogant, intentionally trying to make them underestimate him. He drinks freely and continues, "Actually, there's been a misunderstanding about my strength. I'm only at the 3rd level of the Golden Core. The reason I might appear stronger is because of this great sword." He shows them his flexible finger sword and says, "I obtained it by coincidence, it's quite powerful." He laughs like a madman and adds, "If not for this sword, I wouldn't have dared to leave the mountain today." Sinu and Merhan grow nervous and try to play along, saying, "Master, you shouldn't expose your treasure like that. What are you doing?" The city lord smiles slyly and says, "How generous of you to show everyone such a precious treasure." He thinks to himself, "I thought I'd have to test him to confirm who he really is, but it turns out he's just an idiot." X glances back and notices the box placed at the center of the banquet. Then the city lord says, "I have long admired you, young master Xia. Today, I've prepared a generous gift in hopes of becoming your friend." He reveals piles of spirit stones. X does what he does best, keeps playing the fool. He rushes excitedly toward the spirit stones and says, "We should have bought supplies for the sect and for ourselves, but we ended up spending tens of thousands of spirit stones at once. I was worried I'd be punished when I returned to the sect. Thank you so much, Master Wang." The old man, convinced that X is a complete fool, smiles and replies, "It's an honor to help you, Mr. Shai." He thinks, "I assumed he came from some secret and powerful family, but they're just dogs serving others." He then says to X, "I heard you're quite the master. Why don't we have your disciple compete with one of my comrades? What do you say, Mr. CL?" Pretending to be drunk, X replies, "No problem." Zeno looks at him seriously and says, "Yes, master, I'll do it." The old man smirks, confident of victory, and says, "You're quick to accept. Then let's make it interesting. If Mr. CL wins, I'll add 10 million low-grade spirit stones to the bet. How about that?" X feigns surprise and says, "Then what should I wager? I don't have a single coin." "Oh, perhaps this." He raises his flexible finger sword. "This is my greatest treasure. How about I bet this? What do you say?" The old man agrees immediately, thinking he's already won the sword. He says, "Since it's a bet, no one may touch the items until the result is decided." X smiles and says, "No problem. Everything depends on you now. Don't embarrass your master." Merhan warns her to be careful, and she replies confidently, don't worry, I'll win. Wang announces, Xia's disciple will go first. Then X-Ray, who looks quite strong, steps forward. The two face each other and he says, then let's begin. Xenu immediately unleashes her skill against him. Swords, maybe 3 daggers I think, but he blocks them instantly. However, when he realizes it, his skill is much weaker than hers. The swords or daggers she launched are already flying straight toward his face, stopping just a few inches away. At that moment he realizes he's lost. If she hadn't stopped, he would have been completely finished. He admits defeat, saying, I'm sorry, master. I lost. X laughs loudly and says, you couldn't even take a single hit from my disciple. You're complete trash. Absolute garbage. Everyone around them gets furious, saying, how rude. How can such a weak drunkard say something like that? That sneaky uncle, Xenu's uncle, thinks let him have his fun now. That fool has a screw loose. Everyone knows he's going to get crushed soon. The old man smiles and says, there's nothing wrong with losing. In every fight there are winners and losers, so don't worry. But he thinks to himself, the guard said this master and disciple were skilled sword fighters, but now I see that's all they are. Meanwhile, X cheerfully walks toward the pile of spirit stones, shouting, Master Wang is such a great man. We're rich. We're rich. I'll even bet my sword and all my belongings. The old man grins, thinking, that's exactly what I wanted, to strip him of everything he owns. Then he calls out, next, ghost voice, it's your turn. She steps forward and says coldly, I'm sorry, but I'm going to destroy you now. The old man smiles proudly and says, when it comes to swordsmanship, my niece studied under the Li sect. How could she possibly lose to the disciple of such an idiot? But before he can finish his thought, his eyes widen in disbelief. 1,000 swords have condensed into one, all pointing directly at his niece. Zeno shouts the name of her technique, sending the massive blade flying toward her opponent. The blonde girl freezes, terrified, and screams, how did 1,000 swords become one? I admit defeat. I admit defeat. She collapses to the ground in despair, realizing that at such a young age, Xenu can already merge 1,000 swords into one, something truly astonishing. The crowd murmurs in awe. Xenu, exhausted from multiple battles, has won again, though her body shows she's at her limit. X, still pretending to be a fool, happily swims among the spirit stones. The long-nosed man thinks, look how happy that fool is. Soon he'll regret it. Wang, impressed, admits to himself, for her age she's a genius, reaching the level where she can merge 1,000 swords into one. That's remarkable, but that's as far as it goes. Since he had already set up the entire situation, Wang suddenly orders one of his people to finish it. A cultivator strikes Xenu in the stomach with a palm technique, sending her flying. X immediately recognizes the technique. That's not a palm from the Li sect. He rushes forward, catches Xenu midair, and holds her as she winces in pain. She apologizes weakly, saying, I'm sorry, master, I failed you. He replies softly, it's all right, you can rest now. Then he narrows his eyes and mutters, so this was the hidden card of that old man, Lu Liang, an elder of the Yun sect. The elder smirks, you've already lost, you're too weak. Still pretending to be drunk and foolish, H says, that's all I have left. I can't just leave like this. You've taken all my belongings. How will I explain this to the sect when I return? He points at the old man. Let's compete one more time. The old man laughs. Of course, no problem, but Mr. X just lost everything. How do you plan to keep betting? Everyone falls silent as X calmly replies, I'll bet my own life. The crowd gasps. What? Betting his life? That's insane. The old man sneers, don't wait until you're sober to pay your debt. I'd love to see what you can do without that sword. X looks at him steadily and says, don't worry, I won't back down from my bet. He activates his technique. A massive sword materializes around him, radiating with terrifying power. The crowd is shocked. He declares, I won't admit defeat because I'm going to win. And when I do, you'll return all your fortune. He raises a gigantic hand made of energy, gripping the massive sword. The elder from the Liu Yun sect stares in disbelief. That's not 1,000 swords condensed into one. That's a million. How is this possible? He swings the colossal sword toward her. She quickly draws her weapon to defend, but the moment they clash, her blade is split cleanly in two. She screams in horror. How can he possess such power? This sword was given to me by my master, strong enough to withstand the force of a nascent soul cultivator. How could he break it with a single strike? Barely standing, the elder gasps, "Who on earth is this man I'm fighting?" The old city lord shouts, "Lil Liam, what's happening?" But before he can react, Shan's attack smashes her, sending her crashing into Wang's arms. Furious, the city lord yells, his veins bulging with rage. Shan walks toward him slowly and says, "It seems the city lord himself is also a disciple of the Liu sect. For you to know their palm technique, your status must be quite high, isn't that right? Then it won't be unfair if I kill you here and now." The city lord looks around in panic and screams, "What are you waiting for? Attack him." The hired cultivators he brought to kill Zorn step forward and say, "Finally, it's our turn. Don't worry, Elder, we'll take him down." They all charge toward Sieron. The two disciples are visibly frightened, and Sieron's father is frozen in shock, unsure of what to do. He can only whisper, "My God. Wow, this battle is massive. How are we going to escape from here?" Merhan asked, clearly nervous. X just started clapping his hands happily and said, "All of you have the strength of golden core cultivators. It seems that Master Wang was really worried today, huh? Well, today might just be the day I kill 30 golden core cultivators, all by myself." He stomped his foot on the ground, activating a sword formation that unleashed countless blades attacking everyone at once. The old man scoffed, "One person killing 30 golden core cultivators? How arrogant." Fortunately, before leaving the mountain, I inherited the shadow sword of the Lu sect. Sendryu's eyes widened in shock. "That sword, that's not from my sect. What is it doing here?" The old man sneered, "After years of refining it with the master's blood, the power of this sword has already reached the celestial level. Even as a shadow, it's enough to kill a nascent soul cultivator." Xenu stood, frozen in disbelief. "That sword, that's the embryo sword of the Lu sect, the one they stole from the Lin family long ago. It was passed down through my ancestors. On the day of my family's massacre, they refined the sword using the blood of countless family members as sacrifice." She shuddered, remembering that horrifying scene, her uncle forging the sword amid the corpses of her kin. Even now she could still feel her blood resonating within that blade. The bitterness overwhelmed her, making her physically ill. Merhan tried to support her and said, "Just now they called that sword Lian. How shameless. They stole the sword and even changed its name. They've completely lost their minds." Meanwhile, the protagonist remembered reading about this embryo sword in his system's records from earlier chapters. He realized that one of the conditions to awaken Xenu's innate body was directly linked to this sword. The old man hurled the shadow sword toward him and shouted, "Today I'll teach you what humility truly means." The protagonist's sword formation shattered instantly under the attack. He smiled and said, "I should thank Elder Hang for providing me with such valuable information." Then he activated his flexible finger swords. The old man's eyes widened. "What? I thought I already had that sword. He has two identical ones?" The protagonist calmly thought, "The shadow sword of the Li sect may indeed be powerful enough to be considered a celestial weapon, but even though my swords are earth grade, the existence of the sword domain will make them stronger. I suppose it's time to test the true power of my sword domain," he said with a smirk. He unleashed his technique, sending a tidal wave of sword energy toward the Liu sect's weapon, and shattered it completely. Everyone froze, stunned by the sight of the supposedly divine sword being broken in half. The protagonist closed his fan, struck a casual pose, and said calmly, "Is that really all you can do? I haven't even started having fun yet." The battlefield fell silent. Everyone around was either unconscious or defeated. Elder Hang, realizing the situation was hopeless, tried to flee. "This is impossible. I have to get out of here." But the protagonist immediately noticed and sneered, "Trying to run, you really think you can escape from me?" He unleashed dozens of swords that pierced through the air toward the city lord. As they approached, the old man screamed, "No, please, don't. I don't want to die." But it was too late. He was struck down instantly. Nearby, Xenu's treacherous uncle, the same man who had betrayed his own family, cowered in fear. Please, don't come near me. Leave me alone, he begged. The protagonist and Xenu walked closer. The uncle continued pleading, don't kill me, please. The protagonist smirked. I won't be the one to kill you. She will. Xenu stepped forward, gripping her sword tightly. Uncle, do you remember me? The man's eyes widened as realization struck. You're lazy. No, that's impossible. You died. Before he could finish, she slashed him cleanly in half. One merciless strike fueled by years of hatred. Her eyes burned with rage as blood splattered across the floor. After her long-awaited revenge, the protagonist placed his hand gently on her head and said with a grin, well done, but next time, don't kill so quickly. When dealing with an enemy, make sure they feel the pain. Use the dull side of the blade, it'll hurt much more. This guy's a total psycho. Tears filled Xenu's eyes, but she nodded respectfully. Thank you, master. I've learned something new. Murihan and her father watched nervously from behind. Her father whispered, your master is certainly very straightforward, isn't he? Now with the battle over, the protagonist decided it was time to take Xenu to the Luyun sect, where the real fight would begin. Meanwhile, deep within the sect's grand hall, the sect leader of Luyun, a man named Yun, yeah, what a ridiculous name, was channeling his spiritual energy into the sword, trying to completely dominate it. He laughed maniacally. It's been more than 10 years since the last soul was bound to the Luyun sword, and now it's finally about to submit to me. Success or failure depends entirely on this moment. But despite his full concentration and power, the sword refused to obey. Frustrated, he growled, Why do I feel like I'm missing just a little more power? Why does it keep rejecting me? Suddenly someone rushed in shouting, Sect leader, we have a serious problem. The soul lamps of Elder Lian City Lord Wang and Lin Shang have all gone out. The sect leader's face went pale. What in the world happened? Moments later our protagonists arrived, standing right at the gates of the Luyun sect. The protagonist looked ahead and said calmly, the ancestral sword of the Lian family. The sword was refined using the blood essence of the Lian family itself. Maybe you can still sense the sword's existence through your blood, the protagonist said, but this is the first time I've heard about it. Can you feel anything? Do you know where it is? Xenu nodded. Yes, I can feel it. The people from the Lu sect probably haven't completely subdued the sword yet. I left a trace of my consciousness inside it, so it will be easier to locate later. With that confident smirk of his, the protagonist said, good, then today we'll infiltrate and invade the Luyun sect. Meanwhile, in another part of the sect, inside the hall where the soul lamps burn to represent the lives of the elders, one of the disciples noticed something unusual. The sect master saw that the soul lamps of Master Wang and the other two elders had been extinguished. Rumors spread that they were killed by a wandering cultivator. In response, the elders had summoned the shadow sword of the Luyun sect and even called over 30 golden core elders to hunt down that mysterious man, only for all of them to end up dead. The sect master slammed his hand against the table in rage. In the end, we made fools of ourselves. Did you find out what happened? He demanded. His servant shook his head. Not yet, sect master. All we know is that Elder Shai and 30 others were killed by some wandering cultivator. The sect master's expression twisted in fury. Useless trash. How could more than 30 of my sect's elders, along with the shadow sword, lose to a single man? Who the hell is this person? He gritted his teeth. Increase the sect's alert level to the maximum. We don't know what he's planning, and he could attack us at any time. At that moment, our protagonists had already arrived at the gates of the Luyun sect. The defensive formations seemed stronger than before, Xenu observed, gripping her sword. We could just break through by force. The protagonist thought for a moment. That's possible, but it would be too noisy. We might expose ourselves before we find the sword's embryo. I have a better idea. We'll do it like this. A short while later, they began their act right in front of the sect guards. The protagonist said loudly, this isn't good. Elder Hang and Elder Lin have been murdered. The sect master appeared and looked at them suspiciously. Who are you two? The protagonist bowed and replied, "This is the illegitimate daughter of Lin Shen. I'm her bodyguard. Last night her father didn't return home, so we investigated and discovered he was killed by an unknown man at Master Wang's residence." The sect master still looked doubtful. "The illegitimate daughter of Lin Shen? Huh? Let's see if that's true." He released a wave of spiritual power, extracted a drop of her blood and placed it on a jade tablet. "This is Lun Sheng's life jade. It will reveal if the blood is genuine or not, Septhi." When he activated it, the jade glowed faintly, confirming that her blood was indeed connected to Lin Shen. His suspicion lessened, though he still didn't fully trust them. "Why have you come here?" he asked coldly. The protagonist, acting perfectly, said, "We heard that a mysterious cultivator slaughtered over 30 Golden Core elders at the city lord's mansion. We feared we might become his next targets, so we came here seeking protection." Xenu played along, adding, "I also heard from my father that the sect master has been suffering from violent spiritual backlash while refining the embryo sword of the Lun family, and has been searching for a way to ease that pain. My father once told me that the Lun family possesses an ancient method for refining swords. We've been crafting sword embryos for generations. My blood can help naturally subdue the souls within the sword, and it also has a miraculous effect in soothing the spiritual wounds caused by the sword's backlash." The sect master became intrigued. "Where did this girl come from?" he muttered, then said, "Fine. Show me this so-called method of yours, but don't try anything foolish or you'll face the consequences." He released his pressure to intimidate them, but Xenu remained calm. "It's fine," she said softly. "I'll show you now." She released a drop of her blood, letting it flow toward him. The moment her blood essence touched his aura, the sect master could feel his internal injuries caused by the sword's rebellion beginning to heal. His eyes widened slightly. It's true, the pain is subsiding. Now he completely believed that they were just two desperate wanderers seeking shelter, unaware that he had just let two foxes into his den. "Suspend the investigation into Elder Hang's death," the sect master told his servant. "While I'm away, no one is to open the mountain's defensive formation. Also, arrange a place for these two to stay." As soon as they were escorted away, the protagonist smirked. "Perfect. He has no idea that we're already inside. This is the perfect chance to move freely through the sect." The two began cultivating to recover and strengthen themselves. The protagonist transferred more of his spiritual power to Xenu, helping her reach the first level of foundation establishment. As a reward from his system, he received 200 days' worth of cultivation. He told her, "Now that you've reached the first level of foundation establishment, once you obtain the sword embryo, you'll be able to awaken your innate sword body." He also advanced his own cultivation, reaching the 6th level of the Golden Core realm. Xenu blinked in confusion. "Wait, what the hell is an innate sword body? You never told me about that." The protagonist smiled faintly. "It's nothing important, you'll understand later." Part 3 concluded with our protagonist and his disciple successfully infiltrating the Luoyuan sect. After cultivating together and advancing several levels, they prepared to sneak out in the middle of the night, ready to unleash chaos upon the sect. They had just finished cultivating and were now preparing to unleash chaos upon the sect. The elder turned to Xenu and asked if she was sure she could locate the sword embryo. She nodded confidently. "Don't worry, master," she said. "I can find it for sure." He smiled slightly. "All right, I'll trust you. Let's go." After she pinpointed the exact location of the sword embryo, they headed straight for it. When they arrived, they noticed a single servant guarding the area, a simple man who was actually dozing off. After all, no one in their right mind would dare to infiltrate the Li sect in the middle of the night, except for these two lunatics. They quietly slipped past the sleeping guard and approached the main hall. The protagonist explained, "I've already concealed our auras. No one below the nascent soul realm will be able to detect us." When they opened the door, they were met with an awe-inspiring sight, a sword bound by countless chains. Despite being pulled downward by those bindings, the blade still stood upright, emanating an overwhelming aura. Xenu was stunned. The elder looked at her and said calmly, "Take your time and refine the sword carefully. I'll protect you. No one will enter this place while I'm here." Xenu nodded, sat cross-legged near the sword and began the process of refining it, trying to merge her soul and spiritual power with the weapon. As she cast her technique toward it, her energy began to intertwine with the sword's spirit. Suddenly a violent explosion erupted. Throwing her backward, she coughed up blood, trembling in shock. "What's happening?" she muttered. Then she realized the sword still contained a trace of the Lu sect master's spiritual consciousness. They had been discovered. The servant who had been sleeping outside woke up and rushed into the hall, shouting, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Realizing he was no match for them, he quickly fired a flare into the sky, a signal alerting the entire sect that intruders were inside, and worse, that they were near the sword embryo. The elder gave a faint smirk. Looks like hiding the truth isn't an option anymore. He activated his sword domain and countless blades began to float in the air around him. "Since we've been found," he said, "I'll make sure this night is remembered." Meanwhile, the sect master, who had just been preparing to sleep after a long day, noticed the flare lighting up the sky. Turning back, he sensed that someone had touched his Lu sword. An attack? At this hour, he thought, furrowing his brows. He immediately summoned his disciples and elders, ordering them all to follow him toward the intruders. Moments later, they confronted the protagonist in Xenu. The sect master glared at him. "You're reckless. To invade the Leo sect in the middle of the night. Tell me your name." Dozens of powerful elders and sword masters surrounded the protagonist, ready to strike. But he quickly realized that none of them were on his level. With a faint smile, he said, "From now on, no one steps into this hall without my permission." Then, with a flick of his wrist, hundreds of floating swords launched forward, raining down upon the attackers. The Lu sect elders instantly activated defensive barriers to block his attack. "Arrogant fool," one of them shouted. "You think you can take us all on head-on? Are you insane?" But they didn't understand who they were dealing with. The barriers shattered in an instant under the force of his swords, and screams echoed through the hall as the elders were cut down one after another. "This is impossible," one of them cried out. "How can he kill so many with a single strike?" Holding his folding fan, the protagonist smirked. "Last time I killed 30 golden core cultivators. Back then I thought they were just drunk and slow. But now it seems the entire Lu sect is the same, weak and disappointing." Among the survivors, one elder suddenly realized who he was. "Wait, if he's the one who slaughtered 30 elders, then he must be the man the central region is looking for." The protagonist chuckled. "So you finally figured it out. Fine, I won't hide my name. I am Zhuan, from the Nanlin sect. Remember it well. If your Luan sect still exists, after tonight, feel free to seek revenge. Remember my name, and my sect." The Lu cultivators gasped. One of them shouted, "I don't believe it, but within 10 kilometers, the only sect that can rival ours is the Nanlin sect. Everyone with me." Another elder yelled, "Capture the thieves from Nanlin." They completely fell for his bluff. Dozens of cultivators rushed forward to attack him all at once. Suran laughed. "Good, come all at once. It'll make things more fun." He unleashed his sword power again, cutting through the attackers with terrifying speed. One after another, they fell to the ground, begging for mercy. "Please, don't come any closer," some screamed. When the massacre ended, the floor was covered in bodies. Zhuan stood in the middle of the hall, surrounded by floating blades, and said coldly, "Is this all you've got? You're too weak. The worst part is, I haven't even gone all out yet. Who's going to entertain me next?" One wounded elder spat blood and glared at him. "You Nanlin brat, our sect master will return soon. When he does, he'll tear you into pieces. Laugh while you still can." Ushiran smiled darkly. "I'll be waiting for that." As soon as he finished speaking, a furious roar shook the hall. "You bastard! How dare you attack my sect like this?" The sect master appeared in a flash, his killing intent flooding the room. Soan turned to face him calmly. "Ah, you finally arrived, faster than I expected." He thought it would be easy, but he was wrong. The two began clashing fiercely, their sword intents colliding with immense force. The protagonist eventually shattered the sect leader's sword in half, but it turned out to be only a spiritual weapon, not his true sword. Realizing how powerful this intruder was, the sect leader roared angrily, "You thieves from the Lean family have some nerve. How dare you invade my territory like this?" The protagonist, completely unfazed, activated his flexible finger sword technique and replied coldly, "The Lu sect is nothing. Didn't you see how I just defeated several of your elders? You're all nothing but trash." He began chanting an incantation, and his sword started glowing with a monstrous surge of power. Then he launched them toward the sect leader with overwhelming might. The sect leader blocked the attack with his own blade and charged at the protagonist, aiming straight for his head. But the protagonist dodged effortlessly. He was far too fast. "You overestimate yourself," the protagonist shouted, countering fiercely. Yet in his mind he acknowledged, "This sword is extraordinary, beyond the peak of ordinary cultivation. This man is strong." He could tell that after years of using his own blood to refine divine swords for the Lu sect, the sect leader had damaged his foundation. Although his strength might have once surpassed the nascent soul stage, his cultivation was now unstable. But that's just a minor issue, the protagonist thought. "I only hope Xinyu can finish refining that sword soon." The two continued fighting relentlessly, their blades and techniques clashing in bursts of spiritual energy. The protagonist kept casting spell after spell to enhance his swords, while the sect leader grew increasingly wary. "What kind of sword technique is this?" he thought. "How can he use such spells on his swords? If this technique were applied to a physical divine weapon and with tens of thousands of high-grade swords like his, its power would be unimaginable." The battle raged on. The protagonist's sword energy seemed endless, infinite. "This isn't normal," the sect leader thought. "This must be a supreme technique. If I don't do something now, I won't be able to counter him."